We live in an age where the average man has never been more drained, physically, mentally, and spiritually. He scrolls endlessly through glowing screens, consumed by artificial stimulation, and trades his most potent essence for fleeting moments of pleasure. Modern life is engineered to deplete him. The result is a generation of men who are physically alive but spiritually exhausted. The fire that once animated kings, warriors, prophets, and visionaries now flickers weakly in the hearts of the distracted. To be supernatural in such an age is not about possessing mystical powers or performing miracles in the usual sense. It is about transcending the numbness of modern existence. It is to awaken the dormant energy that has been stolen, scattered, and wasted through indulgence, distraction, and disconnection. Semen retention, the ancient art of conserving and transmuting sexual energy, becomes the key to unlocking that supernatural dimension within man. The lost fire of man. In every ancient tradition, from Taoism to Christianity to the Vedic teachings of India, the life essence, the semen, was recognized as sacred. It was seen as the oil of the lamp of life. A man's vitality, clarity, and spiritual strength were intimately tied to his ability to govern this potent energy. It was not meant to be squandered without purpose, but to be refined and elevated. The modern man, however, has been conditioned to see his sexual drive as something to be indulged, not mastered. He lives under the tyranny of lust and confusion. The digital age has made access to sexual images and gratification instantaneous. What once required effort, intention, and intimacy is now reduced to a dopamine button. The result? Chronic depletion, energetic, emotional, and mental. This depletion manifests as fatigue, lack of purpose, and spiritual dullness. His eyes lose their spark. His voice loses its authority. His posture collapses. His decisions are driven by impulses, not vision. He becomes a man easily manipulated by the world because he has lost mastery over himself. To rise above this condition is to become supernatural, to return to the source of divine vitality and live from that higher current of life. Every drop of semen is more than physical fluid. It is a condensed form of spiritual intelligence. Within it lies the blueprint of creation. Retaining it is not about suppression, but about redirection. The energy that would have been expelled outward can now ascend inward, nourishing the mind, fortifying the spirit, and expanding consciousness. When a man practices retention with discipline and devotion, something miraculous happens. The same energy that once fueled lust begins to fuel creativity, confidence, and conviction. His gaze sharpens, his mind becomes clear, his aura begins to radiate with strength and serenity. He is no longer easily tempted or distracted because his inner fire is not leaking out, it's building within. That internal pressure transforms into spiritual power. Just as water under pressure becomes steam that can power an engine, retained sexual energy becomes spiritual fire that powers a higher way of living. To live supernaturally is to live at a higher frequency of energy and awareness. Most people today exist in the lower vibrations: fear, lust, envy, distraction. They are constantly reacting, never creating. Retention, however, elevates a man's energy from the lower centers of the body, concerned with survival and pleasure, toward the higher centers of the heart, mind, and spirit. In energetic terms, this is a transmutation. In psychological terms, it is focus. In spiritual terms, it is ascension. A man who retains consistently begins to sense this shift. He feels lighter, yet more powerful. His thoughts become sharper, his emotions more stable. His presence becomes magnetic. People notice it even if they can't explain why. This is the supernatural aura that ancient mystics described, an invisible radiance born from the mastery of vital energy. This frequency attracts order instead of chaos, purpose instead of confusion, clarity instead of noise. In a world running on depletion, he becomes the generator of vitality. The supernatural man is not a slave to his body. He is its master. Retention teaches him this mastery. It's a rebellion against the culture of indulgence. Each day he says no to his lower urges. He strengthens his dominion. Every act of restraint forges spiritual authority. He is no longer the mercy of moods or temptations. He becomes commander of his vessel. This dominion translates into every domain of life. His self-control in one area spills into all others. He eats with awareness, speaks with purpose, and walks with power. He becomes dependable because he can depend on himself. The energy that others scatter through vice, he stores through virtue. This inner discipline is supernatural in a society that worships comfort and convenience. To stand apart from the crowd, to preserve your essence, to walk upright while others crawl toward gratification. That is already a miracle in our time. Semen retention has been linked not only to physical vigor, but to spiritual awakening. Many saints, yogis, and mystics practice celibacy or periodic retention to channel their life force toward enlightenment. In Christian mysticism, this is symbolized as the anointing oil, the sacred fluid that ascends the spine, the Jacob's ladder, and illuminates the mind. In Eastern teachings, it is called Kundalini, the serpent power that rises through the chakras when the sexual essence is sublimated. In both cases, the idea is the same. The energy that creates life can also illuminate life. When retained, it feeds the brain and opens dormant centers of intuition, compassion, and wisdom. The man who once lived in confusion begins to receive insight from a deeper intelligence within. His dreams become vivid. His perception sharpens. His intuition strengthens. He begins to sense alignment with divine order. He becomes supernatural not because he has gained something external, but because he has reawakened what was always within him. Practicing semen retention in the modern world is a form of spiritual warfare. Everything around the man is designed to keep him weak. Advertisements, entertainment, even social media, all appeal to his base instincts. He is constantly invited to indulge, to escape, to forget who he is. The supernatural man sees through this illusion. He recognizes that his seed is being targeted, not literally, but energetically. A man without discipline is easily controlled. A man who cannot master his desires can never lead himself, let alone others. So the war is not just moral, it is spiritual and psychological. Each act of retention becomes an act of rebellion against this invisible system of enslavement. Every time he resists temptation, he withdraws power from the matrix of depletion and reclaims it for his divine mission. He becomes a walking source of strength in a weak world. His very existence becomes resistance. The effects of semen retention manifest across 3 dimensions. Physical. His body becomes charged with vitality. His testosterone stabilizes. His muscles recover faster. His sleep deepens. His skin glows. His eyes radiate life. His immune system strengthens. He walks with grounded confidence. The energy that once leaked away now rebuilds his temple from within. Mental. Retention clears the fog. The man's focus returns. His productivity increases. His decisions become intentional, not impulsive. He experiences fewer mood swings and greater emotional balance. Mental resilience becomes his new baseline. His thoughts carry more authority because they emerge from stillness, not chaos. Spiritual. Here lies the most profound transformation. The retained energy refines into light. The man feels closer to God, the source, or the divine. Prayer becomes natural, meditation becomes effortless, and gratitude flows freely. He begins to sense the sacred in the ordinary. The supernatural man is one who sees divinity not as something distant, but as something within himself. A retained man becomes magnetic, not in a superficial sense, but in a spiritual one. His presence commands respect. His words carry vibration. His silence carries weight. People sense that he is rooted in something deeper. Opportunities begin to align around him because his inner world is coherent. Retention amplifies manifestation power. When energy is not wasted, it becomes available for creation. Thoughts become charged with life force. Intentions materialize faster because they are backed by stored potential. The man who conserves his essence becomes the architect of reality rather than its victim. This magnetism is not arrogance. It is alignment. He doesn't chase, he attracts. He doesn't beg, he becomes. The supernatural state is one of resonance with universal order. Semen retention is not just a personal practice, it's a cultural restoration. The world desperately needs men of depth, integrity, and spiritual power. Men who can build, protect, and lead from truth rather than lust. The sacred masculine is not domineering or detached. It is grounded, loving, and disciplined. Retention revives this archetype. It reawakens the noble man who walks with purpose, protects what is sacred, and serves something greater than himself. In this sense, retention is not merely about sexual abstinence. It is about spiritual leadership. The retained man becomes a pillar of stability in a trembling world. He restores the lost balance between masculine and feminine energy, not through domination, but through presence. Women feel safer around him, not because of his words, but because of his energy. Children sense his strength. Communities benefit from his clarity. He becomes a channel through which divine order flows back into the human world. However, retention without inner transformation can become dangerous. A man who merely holds his seed but does not purify his mind may fall into pride, frustration, or aggression. The energy he retains must be directed upward through meditation, prayer, creativity, service, and discipline. Otherwise, it stagnates and turns toxic. True retention is not physical hoarding. It is spiritual refinement. It requires purity of thought, humility, and devotion. The supernatural man does not boast about his retention. He embodies it. His quiet strength speaks louder than his words. Retention is a path of self-mastery, not ego enhancement. It must be guided by higher purpose. When the energy is aligned with service, it becomes light. When it is trapped by pride, it becomes fire that burns the man himself. The supernatural man eventually discovers that semen retention is not about withholding. It's about becoming. By conserving his creative essence, he becomes the embodiment of creation itself. The energy that once enslaved him now enlightens him. The fire that once burned him now illuminates his path. He becomes a living example of what humanity was meant to be. Divine energy housed in disciplined flesh. His words heal, his presence uplifts, and his life inspires. He doesn't just live, he radiates. In this way, semen retention is not only about personal empowerment, it is about the restoration of divine humanity. The man becomes a bridge between heaven and earth, spirit and matter, energy and action. He becomes a supernatural being in a depleted age, not by escaping the world, but by transforming it through his own being. To be supernatural today does not require magic. It requires mastery. The modern world glorifies excess, yet the true miracle lies in restraint. Every act of control over one's sexual energy is an act of spiritual evolution. It is a declaration that the divine still lives in man. Our age is dark not because God has hidden his light, but because man has scattered his own. Retention is the gathering of that light, the remembrance of who we are. When man gathers his seed, he gathers his soul. And when he gathers his soul, he becomes once again the image of the Creator, radiant, powerful, and whole. To be supernatural in our depleted age is to live fully charged, deeply rooted, and divinely guided. It is to stand as a beacon of strength in a culture of exhaustion. It is to live from the infinite well within. And that is the destiny of every man who learns to guard his essence and walk as light in the shadowed world. We want to be part of our family. Then subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.